Oscar played baseball at Tucson High School, third baseman, all city, all state. You played for two pretty good coaches, Ray Atkins and Tom Lundy.
Yeah, I tell you what, the big weenie, Ray Atkins, what a guy. And quick story, he brought me up as a sophomore to play for him, and unfortunately wasn't very successful, struck out my first 10 times. And I thought, well, I'm going back to the JVs. And you know, he pulled me aside, and all of us as athletes have that guy who believes in you. And he was that guy. He says, hey, we're going to stay a little bit late today, and he did. And we worked on it, and from that point on, it just became a thing where I just became confident. And obviously when you have the big man behind you having confidence in you, that was all right. Especially when those younger guys, or the older guys, excuse me, want to kick your butt because you took their spot. And then Tom Lundy, what can I say about Tom Lundy? He was a great guy, helped me a whole bunch, and he actually gave me the opportunity to coach at Tucson High. And he was one of those that said, hey, do what you do. And he basically gave me the free range to do what I did over at Tucson High.
And you're also a really good baseball player at Tucson High.
Yeah, you know, like George says, I was blessed, and we worked on it, and you know, the game necessarily never comes easy. It's one of those things you put every single day into it, you know, from the little things you do in your backyard to, you know, running when someone doesn't see you running, and, you know, it's just something that you love to do, and it's a game that has a lot of passion, and I was very fortunate to, once again, become the baseball player that I was.
You also played for a good coach at Pima Community College, Rich Alton.
Oh, Rich, you know, was a special guy, and obviously his accolades go a long way. So I was very fortunate to play 2 years for him there at Pima College, and he was a soft-spoken guy at Pima College. There was another guy behind him called Jim Fleming. He's also in the Florida Marlins organization, the main guy. And I'll tell you what, Jim ran our butts up. I tell a story. When I was at Pima College, Rich Alday was sitting there, and we had just lost Arizona Western. You never lost Arizona Western. And we're sitting there, and you know, Rich comes out and says, all right, fellas, you know, we split today, and you know, we played pretty well, and it's unfortunate we didn't win that second game. And Coach Fleming was sitting in the background with his jaw flying out of his mouth, and he comes over and says, hey, Jim, you got anything to say? And Jim goes, you darn right I got something to say. And for the next 4 hours, we ran from 6 o'clock to almost 10 o'clock at night there in Pima College. And, but I'll tell you what, he's the guy that put some fire in my seat.
Now, how did you get over to UTEP?
You know, obviously I was successful at Pima College, and I played with a guy named Garrett Nago who went to the University of Arizona. We were team captains our senior year or our sophomore year at Pima. And there's a guy named Jim Lawler who had some roots in Tucson. And he became the first guy to take over there at UTEP. And so I got a chance to play in the WAC, and he brought pretty much all of the Arizona JCs that particular year. And we were probably the most hated group going into UTEP because we were all Arizona boys. And we had to take those spots from all them poor Texas kids, and it was a sad thing, but you know, we did what we had to do, and Jimmy Lawler really made a move there in that WAC, and that was a tough conference back then. We had Hawaii, who was ranked number 2, we had San Diego State, who was number 3, and then we had lowly New Mexico was a number 4. That was a Southern WAC.
So after you graduated from UTEP, it wasn't that long before you were the head baseball coach at Tucson High School.
Right, you know, we all got to find a way and say, you know, our careers are over, and we make that transition. And a lot of people said, why are you hanging it up so soon? And I had the opportunity to play in Mexico some professional baseball. And I just felt that if I couldn't play in America, I wasn't good enough to play further. And so I just said, you know what, I need to take my talents and go back home. And I was very fortunate, like I said, that Tom Lundy was sitting there, and he allowed me to come back and assist him there at Tucson High. And so that's how it got started. I got a chance to go back to my alma mater.
So how much longer when you went to Tucson High as an assistant did you become the head coach?
In 1990, yeah, 1990, Tom Lundy finally said, you know, he had enough. We had won back-to-back state titles in 1987, 1988, and he had the 89 crew, and then I was amazed that he decided to leave the 1990 group because that was probably one of the highest ranked teams in the country that year. We were ranked 4th in the country. We had that kid Willie Morales and that other kid named Tavo Alvarez, which ended up being the top 2 players in the country that year as far as pitcher and catchers. And so I was fortunate to be able to take over at that time in 1990, and I've been blessed ever since.
So you're coaching both baseball and golf?
Yes, you know, it was a funny story in the golf. I tell you what, you know, for us that are high school coaches, we all know what the golf coach really is. And You know, a guy named Tony Cabusi, who's over at Cienega right now. We were buddies, and he was still at the University of Arizona, and he goes, hey, Oscar, you know what, I'm about ready to graduate from the U of A, and there's a job open at Tucson High in golf, and you need to take that job so that when I graduate next year, you can give it to me. And I'm going, oh my God. And the only golf that I ever done was obviously swinging at the end of our season and going out and playing. And so I remember my first year, I took that job on that pretense that Tony was going to take it when I got done, where he got done with his degree. And so I remember that first day, those guys like Richard Riesco, and they looked at me and say, okay, coach, what's your handicap? And of course I said, fellas, my handicap is probably in that tree right there. And they go, okay, I got you. I said, fellas, I'm going to do this right now. I'm going to take you to your place, destination, whatever tournaments you want to enter, we're going to play in. And that's how it started. And obviously, my game got better, and actually I learned the game. I coached actually for the next 26 years golf at Tucson High, and I've got some great guys. Donnie Medina, who's over at Tucson National. I've got Richard Elias, who runs all of obviously Southern Arizona there in Green Valley. So many guys that are out there playing in the game of golf, and I became passionate with that game.
So you're coaching baseball, golf, and then American Legion in the summer. Not much time to rest.
Yeah, you know, I got to thank my wife who's sitting over there, because she can definitely understand not having dad at home with my daughters going to South Point Catholic and wanting to be athletes there, and then my youngest son. And so I've been very, very fortunate to be the slew of the game as far as golf, baseball, and being constantly out there. And it takes that dedication in today's world now to have our kids develop and be the players they're going to be. You have to be the guy there that's, you know, after the hours. And obviously as high school coaches, we don't do it because of the dollar. We do it because of the passion of the game that we want to teach our kids and hope we give them that opportunity.
And last April, you won your 400th baseball game.
Oh, that's a tough one. You know, when you start putting numbers out there, and you know, it was funny. I really didn't even want that to be known, and all of a sudden I called Morales, and I'd got this opportunity that I was going to be inducted, and so I just gave him a call, and I said, hey, I said, you know what, I'm one of those guys that does not keep a scrapbook. I said I was fortunate my mother did that. I love her soul, bless her soul. She was a woman that really loved the game of baseball, and she kept every stat ever, but I never had. And I'm like, well, Andy, I said, you know, I have no clue where I'm sitting. You know, the last time I saw any article was when Danny Moore was inducted, and they talked about Danny Moore and then Mr. Palomares, and then you were third in line. I said, I have no clue. He goes, oh, great. And then at that point, there he came out in the paper the next day, and he puts them out there. Okay, Coach Romero seeking his 400th. You know how difficult that is when you're trying to all of a sudden pursue that final game, and it took about 2 weeks. All of a sudden, we're at 399. And is it going to happen today? Oh, no, it didn't happen today. And, you know, Coach Palomar said, it ain't happening in my field today. And it didn't happen in Coach Palomar's field. And I was fortunate that I had this kid named Cameron Amparano. And this kid has got some thunder in his bat. And we were playing Marana, and we were up 2-0. And I'm thinking, thank you, Lord, today's the day that I can finally get rid of this, you know, mark here that it's on your back. And sure enough, what happens in the game of baseball, it ain't over till it's over. And all of a sudden they tie it up in the 7th inning. This kid hits a shot, and it's tied 2-2. And I'm going, oh boy, here we go again. Got family, media all there waiting. You know, they're coming every day. And I'm thinking, how's this going to happen? And so we're down to 2 strikes, 2 outs. And I got this kid, like I said, has got lightning. He was the right guy, and he hits the ball out of the park to give us our 400th win.
Before you go, I'd like to talk about a couple of your players. First, the late Chris Moon, who died in Afghanistan.
Yeah. What a special player, Chris Moon, who died for our country, and it's always a tough one for me. But what an athlete, guy. I'll tell you a story about Chris Moon. I always tell it, and I saw him as a freshman, and you talk about a guy who was an athlete, and he never came over and introduced himself. He did it on the field, and we just got done with a ball game, and I was getting interviewed for our win. We were getting ready to play the state playoffs, and here's this freshman kid line up in right field, and he's doing this to show off, basically to let me know that he's in our program. And he starts playing catch, and I'm getting interviewed, and all of a sudden I see this kid start throwing the ball from foul pole to foul pole on the line. And you know how it is, guys, if you're coaching baseball, you're going, who the hell is that? And sure enough, I find out, hey, who is that guy? And that's Chris Moon, coach. He's a freshman in our program, and that's just the way he was. Chris was one of those that all of a sudden blossomed, and he'd be quite an athlete. Played football his final year, and was tried to do quarterback. That was way too much for him, but he was wide receiver, wide out. And then obviously he got drafted his senior year by the Atlanta Braves, and went on to play at the University of Arizona for the first half. And I remember he called me and said, "Hey, coach, I'm calling it quits." And I tried to talk him out of calling it quits, because he said, "I'm signing up in the service." I said, "Have you signed your paperwork?" He goes, "Yes, sir, I have." Oh my God, I was like, "Why didn't you call me sooner? Wish I could have changed your mind." But that was just what he had to do. He got that call that he wanted to serve our country, and bless his soul. He did the right thing for our country, and obviously he lost his life that year.
And one more.